You crossed a bridge like this one without a second thought. It felt like solid ground. Now picture that same roadway beginning to twist. One lane lifting toward the sky as the other drops away. A half-mile of steel rolling like a ribbon. The bridge was 4 months old. The wind was 40 miles an hour, the speed of a car on the highway. So, how does an ordinary wind tear a bridge apart? This bridge had a nickname before it had a grave. They called it Galloping Gertie. The name was not given by reporters after the fact. It was given by the men who built it. Even during construction, the deck rolled in the wind. Workers felt the roadway rise and fall beneath their feet. Some chewed on lemons to fight the seasickness. Drivers crossing it watched the cars ahead sink out of view, then float back up. The bridge opened on the 1st of July, 1940. 4 months and 6 days later, it was at the bottom of the strait. A brand new structure, state of the art, gone. So what was wrong with it? For a long time, the answer everyone gave was a single word: resonance. You have felt resonance without naming it. It is a push timed perfectly to a motion already happening. Think of a child on a swing. A small shove at the right instant makes the arc grow. The same shove at the wrong instant does nothing. Time the pushes to the swing, and a gentle effort builds enormous motion. That is resonance. A singer can do it to a wine glass. The right note, held steady, vibrates the glass until it shatters. The textbook story says the wind did this to the bridge, that the gusts arrived at just the right rhythm, that each gust matched the bridge's natural sway and added to it, push after push until the steel could take no more. It is a clean story. It is in physics classrooms to this day. And it is wrong. Here's the problem with resonance. Resonance needs a force that pulses at a steady, matching beat. The wind that day did not pulse. It blew, steady and flat. A constant wind has no rhythm to match. There was no timekeeper out there shoving the bridge at the perfect instant. So if it wasn't resonance, what was it? The real mechanism has a colder name: aeroelastic flutter. Sit with that term for a moment, because it is the whole story. Flutter is when a structure's own movement reshapes the air around it, and the reshaped air pushes the structure further in the direction it was already going. The bridge was not being driven by the wind. The bridge was driving itself. Picture the deck tilted slightly, one edge raised into the wind. That tilt splits the airflow. The air curls off the raised edge in a spinning eddy, and that eddy pulls the deck further in the direction it was already turning. By the time the deck swings back, the wind is waiting to push it the other way too. Every cycle, the air adds a little more energy than the steel can shed. Engineers have a phrase for that: negative damping. Damping is whatever drains motion away. Friction, resistance, the thing that makes a swing eventually stop. Negative damping is the opposite. It is a system feeding energy into its own motion instead of bleeding it off. The bridge had become a machine for amplifying itself, and the fuel was a steady, ordinary wind. There was a threshold. Below roughly 35 miles an hour, the motion stayed small and harmless. Above it, the twisting began to feed itself. Once it crossed that line, more wind only meant more violence. So why this bridge? Thousands of bridges stand in the wind every day and never flutter. The answer was in its shape. A shape that looked, at the time, like progress. The bridge was designed by Leon Moissafe. He was not a careless man. He was one of the most respected bridge engineers in the world. He had a hand in some of the great suspension bridges of the era, and he was a leading champion of an idea called deflection theory. Deflection theory was a genuine advance. It said that a suspension bridge's cables and deck share the load by flexing together. The deck could bend, and the cables would absorb the strain. In practice, this meant decks could be built far lighter and thinner than before. Less steel, less cost, a cleaner, more elegant span. For years, it worked. It produced beautiful, slender bridges that stood without complaint. At the Narrows, the theory was pushed to its limit. The main span stretched 2,800 feet. At the time, the third longest in the world. But the deck carrying that span was extraordinarily thin, 39 feet wide, and only 8 feet deep. For a span that long, that is almost impossibly slender. A ruler balanced across a room. Now picture the edge of that deck. It was not an open framework of crisscrossed steel. It was a pair of solid plate girders, flat walls of steel running down each side. Engineers call a shape like that a bluff body. A bluff body is blunt. It does not let air slip cleanly past. Instead, it catches the wind and sheds those spinning eddies behind it. A streamlined shape would have let the wind flow through or around. This shape caught the wind like a sail that could twist. The same slimness that made the bridge elegant made it flexible enough to flutter. Here is the cruel part. The theory that made the bridge possible is the theory that doomed it. Nobody had broken a rule. They had followed the best knowledge of their time, straight off a cliff. So did anyone see it coming? Some did, faintly. The bridge's motion worried engineers from the day it opened. They tied the deck down with cables. They installed devices to absorb the sway. Nothing held the motion for long. One man studied it most closely. His name was Frederick Farquharson. He was an engineering professor at the University of Washington. He built a scale model of the bridge and tested it in a wind tunnel. He was trying to find a fix before it was too late. On the morning of the 7th of November, he was at the bridge with his camera. That morning, the wind reached about 40 miles an hour. At first, the deck heaved up and down, the way it always had. Then, around 10 o'clock, the motion changed. The up and down rolling gave way to something worse. The deck began to twist. One sidewalk rose as the other fell, the whole roadway corkscrewing along its length. This was the torsional mode, twisting rather than simply bouncing. It was the mode the flutter fed on. And once it started, it grew. The twist reached nearly 45 degrees from level. Lampposts that had stood straight were now swinging through the sky. There was one car still on the bridge. It belonged to a man named Leonard Coatsworth. The motion threw him to the pavement, and he crawled to safety on his hands and knees. But he had not been alone in the car. His daughter's dog was still inside, a cocker spaniel named Tubby. Farquharson, the professor, went back onto the heaving deck to try to reach the dog. The terrified animal bit him, and he had to retreat. At about 11 o'clock, the first section of roadway broke loose. A 600-foot stretch of the center span tore free. It dropped into the water below. By 11:10, the main span was gone. Tubby went down with the bridge. He was the only life lost that day. The towers were left standing, bent, with the cables hanging slack from them. Almost none of this would be remembered, if not for a few rolls of film. 2 men from a local camera shop had been filming the bridge. Their names were Barney Elliott and Harbine Monroe. They captured the twisting and the collapse on color film. That footage became one of the most studied recordings in engineering history. It is still shown in classrooms around the world. After the collapse, the government convened a board to find out what happened. It was led by a panel of 3 eminent engineers. One was Othmar Ammann, a builder of landmark bridges. Another was Theodor von Karman, a giant of aerodynamics. The third was an engineer named Glenn Woodruff. Their conclusion was careful, and at the time, unsettling. The collapse was not a simple failure of strength. The steel had not been too weak. The bridge had been destroyed by its own motion in the wind, the very phenomenon that textbooks would later mislabel as resonance. The board had glimpsed the edge of something engineering did not yet fully understand. It is tempting to call this a mistake, to look back and see negligence. But that is not quite what happened. Nobody at the Narrows ignored a known rule. The rule did not exist yet. The flutter that destroyed the bridge had a mechanism that no design code accounted for. The bridge taught engineers the lesson by dying of it. This is how a great deal of knowledge is actually won. Not from caution, but from the wreckage of confidence. The deflection theory was not wrong, exactly. It was right, until it was pushed one span too far. Efficiency and fragility turn out to be the same direction. Every pound of steel removed for elegance was also a pound of margin removed. The bridge was strong enough to carry every car that would ever cross it. It simply wasn't strong against the wind it never thought to fear. Engineers learned. Every long-span bridge built since is shaped by what happened here. Decks are now open trusses that let the wind pass through. Some carry grates and vents and carefully wind-tunneled shapes. The replacement bridge at the Narrows has a deck designed to refuse the flutter entirely. All of it traces back to 4 months of a galloping bridge. So go back to the bridge you crossed today. It felt passive, inert, just steel, holding still. But nothing that spans open air is ever truly still. Every structure is in a quiet negotiation with the forces around it. Most of the time, that negotiation holds. The Narrows is what it looks like when a structure begins to answer the wind in its own voice. Strong enough to carry its load, and still carrying, hidden in its shape, the seed of its own undoing. Some failures arrive in a single violent morning. Others wait, quietly, inside a structure for 40 years, before anyone notices. That kind of patience is its own kind of disaster.